Every year, millions of Canadians travel abroad, but what if some countries could put your freedom, your safety, or even your life at risk? In 2025, several destinations have become so dangerous that experts warn Canadians to stay away at all costs. From nations gripped by war and terrorism to places ruled by strict regimes where a single mistake could mean arrest or worse, the risks are higher than ever. What makes this list even more shocking is that some of these countries were once known for their culture, history, and even tourist attractions. Which places are now completely off-limits? And which country ranks number 1 as the most dangerous for Canadians this year? Number 10, Belarus. Belarus ranks as one of the least safe destinations for Canadians in 2025, primarily due to political unrest, civil demonstrations, and international sanctions. The Canadian government has issued a high-level travel advisory, warning that travelers could face arbitrary detention, harassment, or difficulties accessing consular assistance. Over the past few years, Belarus has been at the center of geopolitical tensions, particularly after the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which has further destabilized the region. For Canadians, visiting Belarus is not just about safety, it's about navigating a nation where freedom of movement is limited and where expressing even minor dissent can carry severe consequences. The country has become increasingly isolated, with many Western nations cutting direct ties. Air travel routes are restricted, borders can close unexpectedly, and foreign nationals may be subjected to heightened surveillance. Reports from international observers indicate crackdowns on protests, the presence of armed security forces in major cities, and widespread censorship. For Canadians, this means there is virtually no guarantee of safety while moving through public spaces. Even ordinary activities like taking photos, attending gatherings, or engaging with local media could be misinterpreted by authorities. Travelers risk being placed under scrutiny simply for holding a foreign passport. Belarus may not be a common tourist hotspot, but its situation highlights why Canadians are urged to avoid unnecessary travel. For those with family connections or business interests, the risks outweigh potential benefits. The atmosphere is one of uncertainty, where legal systems function with limited transparency, and foreigners lack proper protection. Until there are major changes in government policies, Canadians should treat Belarus as a country that offers more danger than discovery, making it one of the top 10 places to avoid in 2025. Number 9, Myanmar. Myanmar takes the 9th spot as one of the most dangerous places for Canadians to visit in 2025. Since the military coup in 2021, the nation has descended into political turmoil, with ongoing protests, armed conflicts, and violent crackdowns against civilians. For Canadians, this creates an environment of unpredictable danger, where even staying in major cities such as Yangon or Mandalay offers little sense of safety. The Canadian government continues to maintain a strict travel advisory, citing risks of detention, curfews, and limited medical facilities for foreigners. Canadians who travel there may face sudden restrictions, with little to no embassy support available during emergencies. The streets of Myanmar are marked by frequent clashes between pro-democracy groups and the ruling military junta. Foreigners are often viewed with suspicion, and carrying cameras or engaging with local activists can place travelers under direct threat. Internet blackouts, strict media censorship, and the presence of military checkpoints across the country make it extremely difficult to move freely or stay connected. For Canadians, this means limited access to information and almost no guarantee of safety if caught in crossfire. Even popular cultural destinations like Bagan or Inal Lake are affected, as violence spreads into regions once considered safe for visitors. What makes Myanmar particularly dangerous is the widespread instability combined with a collapsing infrastructure. Hospitals lack basic resources, airports may close suddenly, and violence can erupt without warning. For Canadians, there is no reliable system of protection, leaving travelers vulnerable in every part of the country. Until there is a significant change in leadership and security conditions, Canadians are strongly urged to avoid Myanmar. The risks of violence, detention, and limited support make it one of the top 10 countries unsafe for travel in 2025. Number 8, North Korea. North Korea ranks as one of the most restricted countries for Canadians in 2025, taking the 8th spot on this list. Travel to North Korea is extremely rare and strongly discouraged, as the nation maintains an atmosphere of tight surveillance and absolute control over foreigners. Canadians entering the country are constantly monitored, with no freedom to explore outside approved government tours. Even small mistakes, such as speaking about politics, carrying religious materials, or photographing restricted areas, can result in immediate arrest. The Government of Canada issues a full travel ban, warning that it cannot provide consular services inside North Korea due to the absence of official diplomatic ties. For Canadians, the risks of traveling here are not limited to detention. Visitors may face forced interrogations, confiscation of personal belongings, and complete isolation from the outside world. Reports highlight that foreigners who broke even minor rules were sentenced to long prison terms or forced labor. Communication tools like mobile phones or the internet are heavily restricted, leaving travelers with almost no contact with family or Canadian authorities. The presence of a militarized society, combined with strict propaganda laws, makes the environment extremely unsafe for anyone unfamiliar with the rigid system. North Korea may spark curiosity for its closed-off culture and strict regime, but for Canadians, the dangers outweigh any sense of exploration. Without legal protection, every action is controlled, and even unintentional behaviors can lead to serious consequences. Tourists cannot move independently, and every interaction is supervised by government guides. The lack of transparency, combined with a complete absence of freedom, means Canadians have no safety net. In 2025, North Korea remains one of the most dangerous destinations for Canadians, earning its place on the list of countries to avoid at all costs. Number 7, Afghanistan. Afghanistan takes the 7th spot on this list as one of the most dangerous destinations for Canadians in 2025. Since the Taliban takeover in 2021, the country has faced ongoing instability, terrorism, and widespread human rights abuses. The Canadian government strongly advises against all travel to Afghanistan, citing extreme risks of violence, arbitrary detention, and kidnapping. For Canadians, the environment is one of constant uncertainty, with little to no embassy support available in case of emergencies. Even staying in major cities like Kabul or Kandahar offers no safety, as attacks can occur without warning. The security situation is dominated by the presence of armed groups, targeted bombings, and military checkpoints. Foreign nationals, particularly Western visitors, are considered high-value targets for kidnappings and ransom demands. Canadians working with NGOs or humanitarian missions face added risks, as aid workers are frequently threatened by both terrorist networks and local militias. Transportation is unreliable, with airports under heavy restrictions and roads often blocked by armed forces. Travelers have no reliable way to move safely, and sudden outbreaks of violence make even short journeys dangerous. For Canadians, Afghanistan remains one of the least viable travel destinations due to its collapsing infrastructure and lack of security systems. Hospitals are underfunded, basic medical care is scarce, and there is no functioning legal system to protect foreign visitors. The risks of terrorist attacks, armed clashes, and political instability are far too high to justify any form of tourism or business travel. Until there is a dramatic shift in leadership and international stability, Afghanistan will continue to be a country where Canadians face extreme danger. This reality makes it one of the top 10 countries to avoid in 2025, especially for those seeking even minimal levels of safety. Number 6, Somalia. Somalia earns the 6th spot as one of the most dangerous countries for Canadians to visit in 2025. The nation has faced decades of conflict, terrorism, and political instability, leaving it with some of the weakest institutions in the world. The Government of Canada issues a strict travel advisory, warning against all travel due to the extremely high risks of kidnapping, piracy, and violent attacks. For Canadians, traveling to Somalia means entering a country with virtually no law enforcement, limited medical facilities, and minimal international support. Even the capital, Mogadishu, remains one of the most volatile cities, where bombings and armed assaults can happen without warning. Somalia's coastal waters are also notorious for piracy, making sea travel especially dangerous. Foreigners, including Canadians, are often targeted by terrorist groups such as Al-Shabaab, who actively seek out Western visitors for ransom or political leverage. Travelers face constant surveillance, with risks extending from airports to rural roads controlled by militias. Reports show that attacks on aid workers and foreign contractors are frequent, proving that no sector is truly safe. For Canadians, even essential movements like using public transport, staying at hotels, or visiting markets can quickly turn into high-risk situations. The lack of a stable government makes Somalia one of the hardest countries for any foreigner to navigate. Infrastructure is almost non-existent, hospitals lack basic supplies, and there is no reliable system of justice to protect Canadians if they face danger. With its mix of terrorism, armed conflict, and criminal networks, Somalia offers little hope for safe travel in 2025. Until dramatic improvements in security and governance occur, Somalia remains one of the top 10 countries to avoid, representing significant dangers for Canadians abroad. Number 5, Yemen. Yemen takes the 5th position as one of the most unsafe countries for Canadians in 2025. Years of civil war, airstrikes, and political chaos have left the nation in a state of devastation. The Canadian government has issued a complete travel ban, warning that Canadians who enter Yemen face extreme risks of violence, terrorist attacks, and kidnappings. Major cities such as Sana'a and Aden are frequently targeted by armed groups, and even areas once considered stable are now marked by conflict. For Canadians, this means there are almost no safe zones to visit, and embassy assistance is nearly impossible. The humanitarian situation in Yemen adds to the crisis, making it particularly dangerous for outsiders. Millions of locals face food shortages, water scarcity, and limited healthcare, creating one of the world's worst humanitarian disasters. Foreigners are often perceived as targets for ransom, with militant groups controlling large regions of the country. Airports, seaports, and even roads are under heavy restrictions, often controlled by rival factions. For Canadians, the chances of being caught in airstrikes, armed clashes, or terrorist bombings remain dangerously high. Even essential services such as hospitals lack the resources to handle basic emergencies, leaving foreign visitors extremely vulnerable. For Canadians, Yemen offers almost no safety, no legal protections, and no guarantee of escape if violence erupts. Traveling to Yemen in 2025 means entering a nation where civil unrest, disease outbreaks, and militia control dominate daily life. The risks extend beyond physical harm, as the collapse of infrastructure leaves foreigners stranded without support. With its dangerous mix of political instability, humanitarian collapse, and terror threats, Yemen stands as one of the top 10 countries Canadians must avoid in 2025. Number 4, Russia. Russia takes the 4th spot on this list as one of the most restricted destinations for Canadians in 2025. Ongoing tensions between Russia and Western nations, including Canada, have created a climate of hostility and uncertainty for foreign visitors. The Canadian government has issued a strong travel advisory, warning that Canadians could face harassment, detention, or surveillance if they enter Russia. With the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the deepening sanctions, relations are at their lowest point in decades. For Canadians, this means that even simple travel for business or family visits is now filled with risks that did not exist before. Reports suggest that foreigners are sometimes accused of espionage or anti-state activities, even without evidence. Canadians traveling for work or journalism are especially vulnerable, as media restrictions and censorship laws have tightened across the country. The presence of armed police, frequent identity checks, and widespread surveillance cameras creates an atmosphere of constant monitoring. Dual citizens may also face additional challenges, with some prevented from leaving the country during times of political stress. For Canadians, there is little to no guarantee of protection if they are accused of violating local laws, which are often vague and open to interpretation. Russia's major cities such as Moscow and St. Petersburg may still appear modern and welcoming, but beneath the surface lies a system of control and mistrust toward outsiders. The combination of geopolitical tension, legal risks, and the possibility of sudden detainment makes Russia one of the least safe destinations for Canadians in 2025. Until relations improve and travel conditions stabilize, Canadians are strongly advised to stay away from Russia, placing it firmly among the top 10 countries to avoid this year. Number 3, Syria. Syria ranks 3rd on this list as one of the most dangerous countries for Canadians in 2025. More than a decade of civil war has left the nation devastated, with ongoing bombings, terrorist activities, and armed clashes spread across multiple regions. The Canadian government has a strict travel ban, warning that Canadians face extreme risks of kidnapping, detention, or even being caught in airstrikes. Cities like Aleppo and Damascus, once celebrated for their history, are now associated with ruins, military checkpoints, and constant threats. For Canadians, this is not just a matter of restricted tourism, it is an environment where survival becomes uncertain from the moment of arrival. The presence of multiple armed groups, foreign interventions, and collapsing infrastructure makes Syria especially volatile. Foreigners are often targeted by terrorist networks such as ISIS remnants, who view Western travelers as valuable hostages. Medical facilities are severely limited, many schools and hospitals are destroyed, and power outages affect daily life. Canadians would have no reliable way to access emergency services or receive embassy assistance, as diplomatic missions are not functioning inside the country. Even humanitarian workers, who arrive to provide aid, have faced violence and threats, proving how dangerous the region remains. For Canadians, traveling to Syria in 2025 is almost impossible to justify. The dangers are not limited to war zones, they extend into daily life, with risks of chemical attacks, armed robberies, and terrorist plots. The destruction of roads, airports, and housing makes movement extremely difficult, leaving foreigners stranded without options. Until there is a dramatic change in security conditions and political stability, Syria remains one of the top 10 countries Canadians must avoid, representing a level of danger that overshadows any sense of exploration. Number 2, Iran. Iran takes the second spot on this list as one of the most high-risk destinations for Canadians in 2025. Ongoing political tensions, strict government control, and strained diplomatic relations with Western countries have made travel extremely dangerous. The Government of Canada warns that Canadians in Iran face the possibility of arbitrary detention, harassment, and interrogation. The risks are especially severe for those with dual nationality, as Iranian authorities may not recognize Canadian citizenship in such cases. With anti-Western sentiment increasing and widespread surveillance, Canadians entering Iran are often treated with suspicion, making ordinary travel highly unsafe. The legal system in Iran is heavily influenced by politics, meaning that foreigners may be punished for actions that would be considered normal elsewhere. Social media use, photography, or even casual conversations can be misinterpreted as violations of the law. Canadians have limited or no access to embassy services, as diplomatic ties between Ottawa and Tehran remain fractured. Public gatherings, political demonstrations, and even simple visits to cultural landmarks may place travelers at risk of interrogation. Reports indicate that foreign visitors have been used as bargaining tools in political disputes, creating a dangerous climate for Canadians in particular. Despite Iran's reputation for ancient history, architecture, and cultural heritage, the current environment makes it nearly impossible for Canadians to experience these safely. The presence of security forces, constant monitoring, and the possibility of unfair trials leave travelers with no protection if accused. In 2025, visiting Iran comes with risks that far outweigh potential rewards, making it one of the top countries to avoid. For Canadians, the danger lies not only in physical harm but also in the possibility of losing freedom and facing legal challenges with no outside help. Number 1, Libya. Libya takes the top position as the most dangerous country for Canadians to visit in 2025. Decades of civil war, fractured political systems, and ongoing militia control have left the nation in complete instability. The Government of Canada has issued a strict do not travel advisory, warning that Canadians face extreme risks of kidnapping, terrorist attacks, and armed clashes. Even in the capital city of Tripoli, violence can erupt suddenly, making everyday life unpredictable. For Canadians, this means that traveling to Libya is not just unsafe, it is nearly impossible to manage without encountering severe threats. One of the biggest dangers in Libya is the widespread presence of armed militias who control different regions of the country. Foreigners, particularly those from Western nations, are viewed as high-value targets for ransom or political leverage. Airports, seaports, and roads are often shut down or taken over by rival groups, leaving travelers stranded with no safe way to exit. Reports indicate that even aid workers and diplomats have faced attacks, proving that no foreign presence is secure. For Canadians, the lack of a functioning embassy or reliable consular services makes the situation even more dangerous. Beyond conflict, Libya suffers from collapsing infrastructure, limited medical services, and almost no functioning justice system. Travelers have no guarantee of legal protection, and emergency assistance is nearly non-existent. The risks of violence, robbery, and sudden military operations extend across the entire nation, leaving no area truly safe. For Canadians in 2025, Libya stands as the most extreme example of a country to avoid. The combination of political chaos, armed militias, and total instability earns Libya the #1 spot among the top 10 countries Canadians cannot visit safely this year. Travel can be one of the most rewarding experiences, offering chances to explore new cultures, meet different people, and create unforgettable memories. But not every destination is safe, and in 2025, Canadians face unique challenges when it comes to global travel. From political instability and civil wars to terrorism and strict authoritarian laws, the risks in certain countries are simply too high. Ignoring these warnings doesn't just put your vacation plans at risk, it could mean facing detention, being caught in violence, or finding yourself in a place with no embassy support and no way out. The list we've explored today highlights the top 10 countries Canadians should avoid this year. While it's easy to focus on the excitement of traveling, the reality is that safety must always come first. Fortunately, the world still offers countless safe and welcoming destinations where Canadians can explore freely without constant fear. By staying informed and making careful choices, travelers can protect themselves while still enjoying the beauty of international adventures. Awareness is the most powerful tool we have, and knowing where not to go is just as important as knowing where to go. Which country on this list surprised you the most, and where would you feel least safe traveling? Share your thoughts in the comments below, we'd love to hear your perspective. Don't forget to check out our previous video for more eye-opening travel insights. We put a lot of work into bringing you this content, so please support us by subscribing to the channel. It only takes one click, and it means the world to us.